Welcome back. Now, if everything had gone according to plan, Nigeria should by now be getting its refined petrol from the Dangote Petrochemical Refinery. On May the 22nd, 2023, former President Muhammadu Buhari inaugurated the $19 billion, 650,000 barrels per day refinery meant to revolutionize crude oil refining in Africa. Now, the refinery, I should say, was expected to meet 100% of Nigeria's requirement of all refined products and also have surplus for exports. In fact, during the inauguration, this is the timeline given by the president, the Dangote Group, Alhaji Aliko Dangote. Take a listen.
Our first goal is to ramp up production of the various production to ensure that within this year, we are able to fully satisfy our nation's demand for higher quality products to enable us to eliminate the tragedy of import dependency and stop once and for all the dumping in our market of toxic substandard petroleum products. Our first product will be in the market before the end of July, beginning of August this year.
Well, it's now almost 1 month after that timeline now given by Alhaji Aliko Dangote, and production is yet to begin at the refinery, leaving everyone wondering what the problem could be. Now, the failure of the refinery to actually produce, which was expected to mark Nigeria's exit from the League of Oil-Rich Nations, which are heavy importers of petroleum products, is coming at a time when Nigeria is struggling with the impact of fuel subsidy removal. Oil and gas experts Alex Ney and the CEO, Cowry Asset Management, Johnson Chukwu, now join me on the program to discuss more on this. Let me start with you, Mr. Ney. You are an oil and gas expert. Are you surprised that the Dangote Refinery is yet to begin production? What could be the problem?
Well, when the refinery was commissioned, I was wondering, to commission a refinery that is not even dropping 1 liter of any product is an aberration. But it happened. So for one reason or the other, it happened. I'm not surprised that this is where we are. You know, normally for you to commission a refinery or anything like that, things should be ready. And basically, we are still in the yo-yo mode because whoever is running the economy, we tie all these things into place. And it's okay, by August ending latest, we'll be having refined products. All these are part of the planning for the country. So when you start doing yo-yo things like this, it makes one feel as if we don't know what we're doing.
Well, as someone who has played in the industry for a very long time, what do you think could be the problem? What could have prevented production from beginning, especially after Alhaji Dangote himself gave that timeline that we were supposed to see oil come out of that facility now between July and August?
Well, the possibilities are there. You know, there could be some scheduled things that they think is going to happen that will make it to run. And at the 0 hour, they find out that it's not possible. But I'm not surprised. A shift of 1 month, I'm not surprised, but I think the shift is going to be more than that. Looking at basically how things are going. But this is not something you joke with and just throw a number. Under normal condition, the people who are running the refinery, putting the things together, should have come up clearly and fix a date that it will happen. If there's any skip, maybe a month or so, that's all right. But I don't think even we see how it goes. But by the end of the year, if we're lucky, we might get it running by the end of the year, but I doubt.
Let me come to you, Mr. Chukwu. You are the economist here. What exactly is, what's the impact of this? I mean, the non-operation of this refinery at this time. What is the impact on the nation's economy? Because even in terms of planning, especially around the issue of subsidy, everyone had expected that the refinery was going to come on stream at this time and probably help to cushion the effects of the high cost of petrol, but that doesn't seem, it's just not happening. So there must be some impact for the economy. I mean, both in the short and long term.
Yeah, Deji, let me do something that I think is critical, that at this point we need to provide some public knowledge, clarity on how the Dangote Refinery will impact on the economy. In the first place, the Dangote Refinery is a private sector driven business. Crude is sold in dollar. What that means is that whenever Dangote Refinery starts operation, they will buy crude in dollar. If Nigeria decides to give Dangote our crude obligations, that what they call crude obligations of the oil majors, which are amount about 445,000 barrels a day or thereabouts. It then means that Nigeria will be short of foreign exchange earning to meet other foreign currency obligations. So what that means is that we should expect Dangote Refinery to buy crude from the international market or from Nigerian oil producing companies, mostly multinational oil producing companies. Remember, our current production is just about 1 million barrels a day. So you really can't afford to sell 650,000 barrels a day to Dangote. But even if we have to do that, that means we also have to compel our the IOCs and our JV partners to sell to Dangote. Because at the best instances, for the onshore assets, Nigeria's share of production is in the region of 55%. So whatever is produced, when you hear we are producing about 1 million or 1.2 million barrels a day, it then means that the federal government share is basically less than 500,000 barrels a day. Absolutely. But if we decide to give everything to Dangote, it simply means Nigeria will be denied of the point of any foreign currency, assuming we are to sell crude to Dangote in Naira. But if we sell crude to Dangote in dollars, then Dangote will sell refined petroleum to Nigeria, back to Nigeria in dollars, which I think is what will happen. If that happens, then the landing cost of the refined petroleum products will still be about what it is today. Of course, give and take, you may have savings income in terms of freight charges, insurance, and then lower cost of labor. But ultimately, you're not going to see, it's not going to come to us as a zero cost. So what I'm trying to build the basis for us to understand is that, look, we should not expect the Dangote Refinery to be a silver bullet that will solve Nigeria's foreign exchange challenges, that will solve the issue of landing cost of refined petroleum product higher than the pump price as we currently have it today, because we've gone back to the era of subsidy. And what are the impacts on the economy? The most pronounced impact a Dangote Refinery will have to the economy is that the federal government, through NNPC, owns 20% of the Dangote Refinery, and we get the benefit of 20% of the Dangote Refinery. Either we say, give us this, give us our dividend in terms of products. So in that case, instead of paying cash dividend to the government, the Dangote Refinery will give the country refined petroleum products in place of the dividend. That is when the company declares dividend. Otherwise, it's not that silver bullet. There are benefits, obviously. Like I said, the freight cost of shipping crude from Nigeria to Netherlands to refine it and shipping it back to the country will be eliminated. But certainly, we will still have to do with the foreign exchange need of the country to import refined petroleum product, whether from Dangote or from any of the more global oil marketing companies.
There's something you just said that I want you to expatiate on. The idea that, look, Dangote will have to sell oil to us, I mean, locally now in dollars and not in Naira. Could you expatiate on that?
Yes, because Dangote is going to buy crude in dollars. So if it doesn't sell to us in dollars, it will not have the dollar to pay back its suppliers of crude. If it sells Naira, refined petroleum to us in Naira, it will still have to go back to the central bank and ask for central bank to allocate FX to it so that it can have dollar to pay its suppliers of crude. So ultimately, the appropriate thing that will happen in Dangote will sell refined petroleum product to the country in dollar, so that it will have the cash required to pay for crude that it's going to buy. Even if Dangote is going to buy crude from Nigerian international oil companies operating in the country, because crude oil is sold in dollars, it will still have to pay those companies who do they're mining crude in the country. It will still have to pay them in dollars, and it has to pay them the ruling market price. Today, we're talking about crude about $92 to $94 per barrel. So if that be the case, Dangote has to pay that amount to get that crude. Otherwise, nobody will supply crude to it.
So in essence, you're saying, for instance, for those for marketers who may want to buy refined petroleum products now from the Dangote Refinery, they would have to go to Dangote with dollars and not Naira, even in Nigeria.
Not just that, they have to open letters of credit. Dangote Refinery is situated in a custom-free zone, which is an export-free zone. So if you have to buy a product from them, you're likely going to open letter of credit. If Dangote decides to allow you open letter of credit in Naira, then Dangote will have to go through the pain of converting that Naira to dollars. If it doesn't convert Naira to dollars, it will default in payment for crude that it requires to continue to produce.
Let me come to you, Mr. Nai. We also know that the government says the government actually is carrying out a turnaround maintenance now on two of the country's refinery. I'm talking about the Port Harcourt refinery now, and we've been told by the government that the refineries should come on stream by December. I'm just wondering, just give us a sense of, you know, how difficult and how complex it is, technically speaking now, to carry out turnaround maintenance on refineries and get them to work.
Well, I think we've been drifting over the years. Refineries, in most cases, they are like pairs. You know, most of the things there, they are in pairs. That's why you can see a refinery, 90-year-old refinery in the US still working. When one side is down, the other is on, you know. But the way we set up this idea of turnaround maintenance that needs to complete shutdown and all that, I think is part of the systemic system we found ourselves in the country. It shouldn't be. It shouldn't happen at all. But we're in a mess now because all the refineries are down. So it's like starting all over. And no matter what, even the Dangote Refinery, if they have to buy with dollar or whatever, excluding buying the crude, the investment there is dollar investment. And
that's true.
Dangote does not have that money. People pay money to finance it. So you still have to refund that money. So in any direction you take it, there must be some dollar generated to offset the cost of building the refinery. The same thing for the so-called Port Harcourt or Warri refinery. Most of the things, we don't make them here. They are going to bring them in dollars. So you are taking dollars to bring those things in. You feed the people coming to work. Some of them will be paid in dollars. Some Nigerians will be paid in Naira. So this is a business that which side you go to, you cannot dodge the Naira. So, but basically,
you cannot dodge the dollar, you mean?
By now, we should be able to revive the refinery. I don't know to a great extent the level of work they've done. They've told us it's going to be ready by December, just like the Dangote will say, well, by August, you get the crude. Anything can happen. But generally in planning, the skip should not be too long. It may be a month or something like that. It's okay, because these are exact signs that things that you can get and you put your things together, you can come up with a clear schedule. If it's going to be late, maybe 1 month or something like that, but not going into months or a year. So we have to fine-tune our process.
And you did say earlier that you did say earlier that you're not so sure that the Dangote refinery will even come on stream in the next one or 2 months. Why did you say that? There must
Recording
be a reason
stopped.
For you to say that.
Well, from the beginning, commissioning the refinery without a liter of any of the products was an aberration of commissioning processes. You don't go commission a project that has no products. It's only here in Nigeria such things happen. It's only here. Go to anywhere in the world. If you are commissioning a refinery, the pre-commissioning will happen. After the pre-commissioning, everything is checked out. You're ready to go. Then you call and commission. The products start coming out. This is not the first project here. We've done a lot of other projects. Like when we did the mineral water injection, we tested everything out. Everything was running. Before we said we commissioned it, then you have Tam David West and the rest of them come over there. Things were running, so they can go and really see it. It's not just a question of say it was commissioned by X. That's not the point. Commissioning, you go through pre-commissioning, get everything ready. it's running smooth, then you call people and say you're commissioning. And the things that, so from that day that we end up with that type of arrangement, I knew it was going to be a skip. There's no way it's going to happen at the date. I knew that one, and I said it that come August, you will not get that liter of refined products, because that is supposed to be a starting point. You've done all your pre-commissioning, then you come and say, okay, I'm commissioning. Somebody comes in there, they get a liter of petrol, a liter of the product in any form or the other. But that never happened. So it's like, well, let me commission it and go on records. It was commissioned by X. Very strange. And very unprofessional.
Very strange indeed, and it's not a good one that refinery has actually not started working. But let me come to you, Mr. Chukwu. You look at the way things are going. The Dangote Refinery has not come on stream. The Port Harcourt Refinery, not yet. We've been told it's going to happen, probably begin operation again sometime in December. We're not too sure when the Dangote Refinery is going to come on stream, so we're left with imports. Now, we will definitely continue to import petrol. And you look at the current price of petrol, you look at the price trajectory over the past few months, it's been going up. It's over $90 per barrel as we speak. And then you look at the fact that we've removed subsidy. Do you think we'll be able to sustain the removal of this subsidy for long? I mean, if the price of petrol, the price of crude now continues to go up.
Well, Deji, before I answer that question, I want to backtrack a bit on the issue of Port Harcourt Refinery, the turnaround maintenance of Port Harcourt Refinery. I want to throw a challenge to you as a journalist, and maybe to other investigative journalists in the country, to go and look at the amount we spent on the turnaround maintenance or the rehabilitation of refineries in the past 10 years, and to come back to the world, to the public, and tell us how much liters of refined petroleum product have been produced in the last 10 years from those refineries, including the salary we have been paying to people. What has happened over the years is that the refineries have been a conduit pipe to generate slush fund for political and other nefarious activity. I'm using the word nefarious activity with all seriousness because we're talking about Commonwealth. We know that the refineries have become obsolete. The FCCD of these refineries have become obsolete. That's the fluid catalytic cracking devices of the refineries have become obsolete. And therefore, no amount of money you throw to those refineries will make them become economically efficient. If you cast your mind back to when Dr. Ibeka Chukwu was the Minister of State for Petroleum, he did give a commitment on the timeline for the turnaround of the refineries, Port Harcourt, Warri, and all the rest. Eventually came back to all of us as a people to say, look, for every barrel of crude that is produced, that refined in these refineries, the quantity of the products that a refined product comes out is far lower than the value of the crude that we're putting into refining, because the systems have become obsolete. And that's the heart of a refinery. So if we talk about, we have spent about another $1.5 billion at the pre-election period, in preparation for the election, and we say we wanted to turn around the Port Harcourt refinery, we're giving timelines. I think we should stop deluding ourselves. Those refineries should be scrapped, and the monies that we're spending on them better invested in either a new refinery or in other social or fiscal infrastructure in the country. Back to your question. The issue around subsidy today is that we have gone back to the subsidy era, and that's the most painful aspect, because we've gone through pains as a people to exit subsidy, only because we did not manage the exchange rate issue. Because if we had managed the exchange rate and had a relatively stable exchange rate, we would have been only dealing with movement in the price of crude and the price of plat, that is ICE, and that's an increase in the price of refined petroleum product. And that increase maybe from $84 to about $92 for crude, and we're talking of maybe ICE, or maybe in the region of, plat in the region of maybe 1,100. So the increase in the landing cost of refined petroleum products, assuming exchange rate remained relatively stable after the harmonization of the exchange rate, wouldn't have been as drastic as it is, and therefore they would have been able to pass it on to consumers. But because we've seen a major divergence in the exchange rate, and because you're importing this product, so the landing costs have become so huge that it's impossible to pass it on to the average consumer. And the government has begun to absorb a differential between the landing cost of petroleum products and the pump price. So we're back to the subsidy era. So the equation of whether we can subsidy, the government can sustain the subsidy removal is that the government has already reversed that process. Immediately, the government made an announcement that they will no longer increase the price of petroleum products. So that automatically means we have frozen the price. If you have frozen the price in a product that is landing cost is increasing on changing on a daily basis, simply means you have subsidy built into it.
And I'm just wondering, what's the way out of this?
Well, the way out is we need to get the fundamentals of economic management right. Two variables should not have been moved at the same time. You cannot allow the exchange rate to continue to move and a level that is unmanageable at a time when you just remove subsidy. I had advocated that we need to take out the subsidy and at the same time harmonize the exchange rate. But in harmonizing the exchange rate, I also expected that you're going to achieve some level of stability in the exchange rate, because it's not necessarily the rate that we dollar changes to the exchange to the naira. The problem is that you wake up in the morning, they tell you it's 9:30 yesterday, today is 9:70. And then you can't plan.
But is that not what some of you have always asked for? I mean, because I remember you have always campaigned for the floating of the naira, and that's what we have now, and that's what we're seeing.
What we have asked is that you should harmonize the exchange rate and allow some market forces to intervene in determining the exchange rate. There's no way in the world where exchange rate is left at the whims of the market forces entirely. And that's why every country has a central bank. If you don't have a central bank, you subscribe to a common currency central bank, like the European Union Central Bank. So there must be somebody who manages the currency, who keeps a reserve, who intervenes when there is an uncommon and unusual movement in the exchange rate to achieve stability. So that is what is lacking, because the government, before they removed the subsidy, as well as harmonized the exchange, they did not take the necessary measure that should have been put in place.
And of course, that intervention too would depend on how much you have in your reserve, if you've got the funds to really defend your currency. I mean, in terms of forex.
Let me tell you, the critical thing about currency stability is about confidence. No matter the reserve you have, if the people do not have confidence in your currency as a store of value or medium of payment, medium of exchange, they will not hold that currency. The key thing that we got wrong is that we have negatively impinged on that trust that people have in the local currency as a store of value. If at the point when we wanted to harmonize the exchange rate, we had a reserve to clear the areas of unmet letters of credit that had matured and needed to be negotiated, payment due to the airlines that had been due for payment all over time, payment due to foreign portfolio investors who wanted to repatriate either dividend or capital that they are from the Nigerian naira assets they sold. The least we should have done was have an estimate of this, prepare to meet that, because you can't at the same time allow your values for those investors who had put money, who were holding naira assets, their values, the value of the asset, all of a sudden got eroded by more than 40%, and at the same time they can't access it. So there's no way you should expect others to come in. And that's what is missing. It is not harmonizing the exchange rate. If we had done that, we would have gotten to a point where people would say, okay, wow, we have harmonized the exchange rate. Naira has moved to a lower value, but there's liquidity in the currency and the dollar is available. And then people will want to come into your economy.
All right. Let me give you a final, you have the final word, Mr. Naim.
Well, as far as I'm concerned, there is no way things are going to change with the cadre of people running these organizations. Take statistics back to about 15 years or 20 years. You see, when people have a mindset, they will continue to walk in that direction. What has happened? Look at all the projects. They are highly inflated because you have the same people circulating over and over, and the manipulation has become a constant. So you need to re-engineer the entire system, whether on the finance side or the technical side. Because you're talking of refinery, turnaround maintenance, look at the costs. some of the amount of money they use on turnaround maintenance can produce a full refinery, full-fledged. So it's a systemic problem. And as long as you're recycling the same people, the same ideas, and you want changes to happen, it will never happen.
Don't you think the refinery should be sold?
So it's very unfortunate. We can have a country like this, and we continue to do the same thing like business as usual, turnaround maintenance. Look at the money.
Don't you think the refinery should be sold?
And feel ashamed.
Mr. Nay, if you can hear me, I'm asking.
Nonsense is nothing before everybody.
Mr. Nay, if you can hear me, I'm asking. Do you subscribe to the idea of selling off the refineries?
Well, it's like junk material, because if you look at what they've done, calculate all the money over the years in terms of turnaround maintenance. You come in with an old scrap. Some of the things you have there, no person is using them anymore. So when you go to order for them, it's like building them to meet your requirement. And the international community, they are not here, not that they like your face. So anything they can extort from you, they will. And we are helping them to extort us. So that's why I said we need a complete re-engineering. Whether it's NNPC, whether it's this or that, you need a complete re-engineering, because the system will not work. You want to do proper planning. Now, a refinery is there, it will come on to time, December, this will come on. Then the Minister of Finance, it's a team, and everything don't gel. So when they don't gel, what happens? They fall apart. So we have to go back to the drawing board and look at the capability of the people. Like NNPC, for example, is overdue for a complete overhaul, because it is like monkey go, monkey come, and just like that. So you're not going to find anything different.
All right, I'm afraid that's where we just have to end it, because our time is actually out. I want to thank you both for coming on the program. Mr. Johnson Chukwu, thank you very much for your time. And Mr. Nay, I know you're still talking, but I hope you can hear me, sir. Thank you so very much for your time. Unfortunately, we're out of time. Thanks to you both. Well, that's how much we can take on the program this week. We thank you very much for watching. I'll see you again next week. Bye-bye.